ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on today's episode, we have some Halloween Kill news and a new HBO show in development. We'll get to that in the news. In trailer talk, we have the Matrix and Hawkeye trailers to talk about. The new streaming list is a little light, but it's not too bad. And then we'll get to what we're watching, of course. And then our main review for the episode is Malignant. But before we get to any of that, I'm joined today, and as always, by not seeing things, Nathaniel Gingrich.
I'm Nathaniel, and I cannot see things.
You're not. No. It's you. You're not seeing things.
Oh, I'm not seeing things. They're real. They're in the walls. Like that guy. That's my character.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm cool with that.
I was thinking about this as I was watching the movie. How do you convince someone that like you're not crazy?
I think
is there a way to do so?
It's real hard.
A really tough task.
Yeah.
I think that person more or less has to convince themselves that they trust you and that it's okay to have that conversation.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. I'm pretty sure that's that movie that came out a few years ago, the Steven Soderbergh one with Claire Foy. I think it's called Unsane. It was like shot on an iPhone or something like that.
You're absolutely right. I've brought that up on pod before, just kind of under what we're watching.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I caught it in theater, then I rewatched it. Yeah, it's good point. Good point, Nathaniel. I would definitely say that she's got to convince somebody that she's not insane, which is very tough.
Yeah, should I check that out? Is it good? Worth a watch?
Yeah, it's good. I think from a film standpoint, for all four of us, I think we'd like it. It's like shot off like an iPhone 8.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
This is back in like 2017 or something.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that movie.
Yeah.
Some buzz.
So it's got some good shots to it. You know what I mean? It's cool. I like it. Claire Foy did good.
Anyways, I'm not seeing things, Nathaniel. Who else is here?
We're also joined today by Turn On the Lights, Tyler Vidalis.
Turn them on.
Turn them on, keep them on, never turn them off. I don't care what the electricity bill looks like. I am not turning off.
Keep the lights on. Did you guys ever have to fall asleep with the lights on? You ever been that scared?
When I was younger.
Yeah, as a child, yes. As an adult,
yeah.
No, dude. I need dead silence, and I need it to be dark for me to fall asleep.
Dead silence, pitch black, cozy. Are you like a comforter guy? Or do you like sleeping when it's cold in the room, warm in the room?
I need a colder. Shit.
Yeah,
Cold?
definitely. I'm with Ty.
Cold's definitely.
It's always on top.
I heard the fact the other day, I think it might have been on TikTok, that when you fall asleep, your brain temperature actually decreases by about 1.5 degrees, like one or 2 degrees or so. And so that's why it's much easier for you to fall asleep when it's colder in the room than it's hot, because your brain can't cool down the way it needs to in order to fall asleep, or your body can't, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's your body temperature. You need to lose about 2 degrees before you can fall asleep.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah. So.
Isn't that crazy?
That's kind of wild. And it makes a lot of sense, too, on why you can't fall asleep while it's warm.
Do you think that's the same across all life forms? That was like a really big brain animal question to me.
No, because there's like warm-blooded and cold-blooded.
Say cold-blooded animal.
Yeah. Man, we all just talked over each other.
We sure did.
Right there.
Listeners,
same point, though.
Yeah. No, we're all right. So we're on it.
We were all talking
animals.
about.
Gotcha. Shout out crocodiles.
Shout out crocodiles.
What is
the crocodile man over there?
Is there a science term for that? Endotherm, ectotherm? Did I just make that up?
No, those are real things. I don't remember what they are. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't
I think that has to do with the skin type.
Oh yeah, you may be right there.
I just know a lot of reptiles are cold-blooded. I think all reptiles are cold-blooded. Yeah, I'm sure all is probably wrong.
Is an animal that is dependent on or capable of the internal generation of heat, aka a warm-blooded animal. Ectotherm, I'm assuming, is the opposite. They rely on the external environment to regulate their body temperature.
Yeah.
So they're cold-blooded.
Way to go, biology.
That's +5 for Nathaniel.
+5 for Nathaniel. And rounding out the squadron tonight, it's Big Blackout BlakeHolder.
I'll take it.
Tyler wants the lights on. Blake turned them off. It's a whole.
I'm not seeing things.
The whole fiasco. Well, I guess they are. They all go hand in hand.
Yeah.
The lights are off. I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Nathaniel's not crazy. He just can't fucking see.
Yeah. I'm not seeing things. We know you're not crazy. No, I actually can't see anything. Blake turned off the lights.
I can't say. Right. Ironically enough, we're actually, me and Ty are the opposite in real life right now, where he's got the lights off.
Yeah, like all my lights are off. I'm sitting in like a dark room.
Yeah, I have like probably 8 different sources of LEDs in my room.
You have the supervillain in like the first act of the show or whatever, where they don't reveal who he is yet. They just give you the blackout like silhouette.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a voice changer and talk about how your plan's coming together.
Yeah.
This is a great bit for an audio podcast. I'm really glad we're doing this. For context, listeners, Tyler, of course, has most of his lights turned off in his room and is barely illuminated by his computer screen. So,
or his map of all of his targets.
Oh, and he turned on his ring light. There he is in all of his glory.
Hey.
All right.
Goodbye.
Well, let's get in the news here, gentlemen. Our first news story of the day: Halloween Kills to debut day and date in theaters and on Peacock.
Wow.
So we've had our jabs at Peacock and Paramount Plus, but they're joining in on the streaming fray of having movies come day and date or shortly thereafter after their movie or their theatrical release come to the streaming service. So Halloween Kills, same day as theaters, October 15th, will be coming to Peacock.
Will this make you get Peacock? Immediate.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Nathaniel.
The big question: will this make you get Peacock?
It might make me buy it for a month.
Yeah.
Because cheaper than a movie ticket, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say no, just for being on A-list and then AMC.
Yeah, I guess we're the exceptions because we have
most
of us have some form of movie subscription. Whereas
for theaters,
yeah, I guess if you were a common man and you did not have A-list or anything,
absolutely. This would get if I didn't have a theater accessible to me, this would 100% get me to download Peacock. I mean, after all, Saint Maud got me to download Epics.
Yeah, and that's on Hulu now, I think.
It is on Hulu now.
So this makes me think that more Universal movies will be going to Peacock overall.
They mentioned in the story, I guess we must have missed this in the news, or I guess I must have missed this in the news, but Universal has announced that starting in 2022, all of their movies will come to Peacock within 4 months of their theatrical release.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Within 4 months. So not the 45 days that other streaming services are doing, but still pretty soon after.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, what are the big Universal movies now? Fast and Furious, I'm pretty sure, is all Universal. Which would be a big draw.
They're still around.
The Jurassic Parks. Sure. Oh yeah, Universal is like one of the weird, like it's the studio everyone forgets about, but it still turns a tidy profit. They got a lot of horror stuff too. So I mean, if they start, I feel like you know the way that HBO Max is so heavily aligned with Warner Brothers. If Peacock starts to more explore that Universal movie angle, there are a lot of films that they can do. I just bet that the rights are with a lot of other people at the moment.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, eventually those licenses will run out.
100%.
As long as they can collect them back and then put them towards Peacock. That definitely positions Peacock in a better position.
And that may be why we're seeing NBC or I guess Universal, Comcast, whoever it is that is the big parent company of Peacock, not really care about it. I bet I would hazard to guess that they're waiting for a couple of those to kind of come back into the fold, a couple of those rights, and then they can really leverage that a little bit more. Yeah.
Right. And Peacocks, I mean, they're starting to get kind of a catalog on their list on there that they'll have upon release and things of that nature. Do we know how much they're running a month? Is it what, 12?
It's going to be $5 a month for their ad version and $10 a month for their ad-free version.
It's not too bad. $5 a month isn't too bad.
Yeah, it's not. And I think they know their position in the streaming market where not a ton of people are going for Peacock because they just don't have as much to offer, at least right now. And since they're a direct affiliate with NBC, it's like NBC's streaming service. Not everyone wants those TV shows and stuff, which is mainly what NBC has to offer.
Right.
So for $5 a month for an ad version of the service, I mean, a lot of people are probably going to pay that $5 a month just to watch The Office.
Or
I mean,
Friends. Isn't Friends
or
on there
Friends.
now too?
Yeah, both of them are there. So $10 a month, that's where it gets a little bit more questionable for me personally, and I feel like for a lot of people probably as well. We'll have to see how they add on to their catalog, because if they do become a somewhat big hitter and they have some good IPs on there that I could see myself returning to or going for, I'd shell at least $5 a month, maybe. 10 I would consider, depending on how much they
Well,
build
especially
up
if they're
their
releasing
catalog.
day and date.
Yeah, this is the only one really. I think they did one other one that was day and date. Trolls World Tour, actually they put premium on demand. That was the only other one. So this is like kind of the first one I think doing day and date, and then like I mentioned earlier, they're doing the 4-month release window for 2022, which is still a good deal to have if you're a Peacock subscriber.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. All right.
What's
Well,
next on the list? Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not a Peacock subscriber, there's a good chance you have at least maybe an HBO Max subscription, to which you can look forward to the Batman Penguin spin-off series in the works at HBO Max. This
Yeah,
is
I read
very
some stuff about this today.
Yeah, this is very early on. They haven't really officially confirmed it yet, but it's kind of confirmed that they're doing it. And they've reached out to Colin Farrell, who plays the Penguin in the upcoming Ben Reeves Batman that comes up next. I think it's June or July next year, sometime around there. Sorry, March of 2022, which is actually sooner than I think. It'll come sooner than we think. And I'm very excited for that movie. But anyway, Colin Farrell, who plays the Penguin in that movie and is completely unrecognizable as the Penguin in that movie. If you guys remember the
Definitely.
trailer, it does
Yeah.
not look like Colin Farrell at all. But
No.
he's been approached to reprise that role in a TV show. No deal has been struck yet, but that's looking to be added to HBO Max's slate of TV shows that they've been doing, because they have the Peacemaker show. And then they have the Green Lantern show, and then another J.J. Abrams produced Justice League Dark project. I'm getting all these from the Hollywood Reporter story, by the way. And then they have Titans and Doom Patrol as well. So they have actually quite a few original shows for DC in development here, and this is kind of just adding to that slate.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sold for that. I'm not even too big on TV shows, as you guys know. But I think just the whole world and universe they're building with this Batman, I think that's going to be a big hit for HBO Max.
And for me, obviously, I don't think I can really give I'm super excited for this until we see the Batman and see what Colin Farrell's character kind of becomes in that. So if they do this and I enjoy that character, I'll probably check it out. But if I'm not in love with the Penguin and the Batman, then I don't know. It's kind of a big guess to start production on this before that movie comes out. But that also kind of, maybe they have a lot of faith in it. Maybe they've seen an early cut and they have they feel strongly that this would be a good investment for them. So that's kind of it could go both ways.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the news this week. We can move on to trailer talk, where we're going to talk about The Matrix Resurrections, official trailer number 1. I'm excited for this. This looks pretty good. Tyler, you're shaking your head a little bit.
It's more of just I don't know if I want more or if I wanted less. It's kind of hard to tell from the trailer. It definitely doesn't seem like a traditional Matrix. It's hard to tell. I'm very intrigued by it. So I'm excited and I'm very intrigued. I don't know if I want less or more right now at this point.
I think that's very fair. Yeah, I'm personally excited for it, but I do understand what you're saying. Where there were some aspects of this trailer where I was like, I don't know if I'm necessarily in on this completely. But regardless, I'm gonna go see it and probably have a good time, because I love John. Well, yes, I love John Wick. Keanu Reeves. I love Keanu Reeves. I loved the first Matrix, and like I said, I think on last week's episode, I'm looking to rewatch all 3 of them because I haven't seen the last 2 before this one comes out. But
Yeah.
Seems like they're doing some interesting stuff.
Yeah, dude, I'm with both of you guys. It's funny you brought up John Wick because that's kind of like the running joke because he's got the long hair in this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this looks like it's just like John Wick implanted into the Matrix.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I mean, I think I'll watch this movie certainly. The first three are kind of some of my favorite early action, childhood movies. We kind of went on a brief rampage last week about the trilogy. I think the only people who've seen the trilogy are me and Ty, right? You and Nathaniel said you guys only saw the first one.
Correct. Yeah, and I've seen bits and pieces. I like us renaming all of our tangents rampages, though. By the way,
I'm going on a rampage.
I'll like it though. I'm sold. I'll certainly go watch it. Same director. Directors, right? Because aren't they brothers? Twins?
The Wachowskis.
Siblings now. I would say siblings now.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
The Wachowskis
Siblings.
are siblings, but only one of them is directing this. I believe Lana is directing this one.
Yeah, I remember only seeing one of the names in the trailer. It is Alana, yes.
So yeah, it's cool. At least they kind of got the original ideas and everything back in here and didn't just give it to a new director.
I think
that
this is
certainly could have turned this thing south.
I think this thing's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it has the potential to be for sure. One thing I'm really excited for, and you can definitely see this in the trailer, is a Matrix movie with good CGI and like modern CGI. Not that the CGI in the original trilogy is bad, because
It's hold up surprisingly for like
yeah.
1999.
Oh, for sure. I was about to say it still holds up pretty well, but you can already tell from this trailer that it's just a different game at this point, 20 years later. And so it'll be fun to see what they kind of do with that, and if they even crank up the Matrix a notch because they have the newer technology to do that with.
I have a feeling this film's gonna be divisive.
Yes, I could see that being the case.
Hey, Blake, did you ever see the Animatrix?
I haven't, man, and I see it all the time. I've got a buddy who tells me to watch it. It's on HBO Max, and it's just something I've seen for years, right? But I've just never taken the time to sit down and watch it. I'm assuming you recommend it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I might have to get to that.
Where should you watch that in reference to all the others, Tyler?
Whatever way you want to do it. It's at this point, it's kind of like, if you haven't watched all the other stuff, then you may as well watch the Animatrix first. But with Blake and I, since we've seen everything, you really don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So should I watch that before going in on Reloaded and Revolutions?
I think it would give you some pretty good insight.
All right.
And is that just is that a film? Is that a series?
Pretty sure it's a movie.
Yeah, and it's all animated.
But it's like different styles, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can take you up on that.
Cool. Well, that's coming this December, the 22nd. So only a few months away. Short wait for that one.
Happy
And then
Christmas.
Time flies.
Yeah, it'll be, like I said, I think the Batman and this one will be here sooner than we think.
Good point.
And also coming this Christmas is Hawkeye, the new trailer or the new TV show coming to Disney Plus, featuring Jeremy Renner as I don't know who the other people joining him.
Haley
are.
Steinfeld is at least one.
Haley Steinfeld, yeah, that's right. Ty and Blake, I forgot to mention to you guys that we were doing this for Show Talk. Have you guys seen this trailer?
I have.
Yeah, I ended up catching it online.
You did? Okay, awesome. Cool. So yeah, this is coming this Christmas as well. Let me see if I can get an exact date for you guys here.
So it was like November 28th, I think it started.
November 24th is when it's going to start.
Okay.
So shortly after, actually, I don't know when Thanksgiving is this year, but around that time, and then a run. Let me see if it says how many episodes there are. It does not here. Let me see if I can Google that.
I'm going to say right away, I think this looks really fun.
I agree.
I think,
Well, I mean, people are still that high on these shows. I mean, obviously they're doing well, right?
Right.
But I mean, is there just kind of from you guys being in on all the shows? I mean, is there any like die down yet of like, hey, it's starting to get oversaturated again, or what?
Not really.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen.
I don't know. I feel I'd be really interested to know what the numbers are. I don't know. I was just like specifically this one based on the trailer. I was just like, man, this looks like really fun and like a really light ish like not Halloween, Christmas time kind of show, and I just like immediately pictured myself sitting at home, just getting off work, watching the new Hawkeye show, and it having kind of like a really fun vibe. So I was in on it at that point. I just thought the tone was really nice for this trailer, and it looks fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's going to be 6 episodes starting November 24th, and so that'll take us to Christmas, basically. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Nathaniel. I think this looks like a lot of fun. Blake, kind of circling back to what you were saying, I don't think there's a lot of burnout yet, at least on these TV shows, especially after Loki, and especially how that was received. Everyone was really high off Loki right now.
Yeah.
What If is the one where I feel like there's not as much talk around that one, and I don't know necessarily why necessarily that is. Maybe because it's just not progressing the MCU forward
I think it's
in many ways.
Yeah, it's non-canon and it's animated. Those are the two big things it's going to have going against it. So, but I think in some ways that's probably like it, where the diehards will automatically watch that. This is What If is a good pressure valve release for guys that are a little bit burnt out after 3 live action shows in a row.
Right.
So I think for the people that are in on watching the shows, they've timed it pretty well.
Yeah. And this one feels more like along the lines of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where it's more of a 2-character. Now I don't want to say buddy cop, but 2-character play, playing off each other and progressing that story in that way.
Yeah, this almost feels like it takes place over the span of about a week or something like that in terms of timeline. Overall, it doesn't feel like it's a too wide ranging of a show where, I think WandaVision was a couple months and kind of Falcon and Winter Soldier I think was a couple weeks, and even Loki I think took place however you want to call time there.
Time works differently.
Yeah, exactly. So this seems like a little bit more shorter, a little bit more focused. Looks like a little bit smaller cast of characters too, or anything like that. But yeah, I think it, like I've said a couple times now, it looks really fun. How do you feel? Do you think this is a goodbye Hawkeye role for Renner? Do you think this is kind of his adios, or do you think he gets any more play in the movies?
I would be surprised if they say goodbye to him in the show.
Okay.
I think they'll wait for some kind of movie, but I do think this is the beginning of his.
I guess the Black Widow ending kind of spoilers, whatever. It's 3 weeks now. The movie's coming out on video soon.
Yeah, I mean, they introduced his protege, so at some point you gotta figure that this is going to be the passing of the torch.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think this is definitely the beginning of that. And I'm sure Jeremy Renner's kind of on his way out anyway. He's been in since 2012, I guess. His first movie was Avengers, but he was even in
Thor. He's in Thor.
Thor, yeah, he's technically in Thor. So it's probably been almost 10 years for him, if not 10 years. Actually, I guess it's been 10 years if they filmed the Avengers in 2011. So I'm sure he's ready to kind of head out of there as well.
That's a good point.
Yeah. But I'm definitely down for this. I like how much the trailer fit the Christmas theme. I'm glad that they're kind of almost doing it themed in that way, it seems like. And it'll be a nice little timely show in that regard.
Tyler, have you read some of the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run, which I think is My Life as a Weapon?
I have not.
Okay. I was just curious if that's also set around Christmas or anything. I know they said that they were basing a lot of this off that, I think. Or like the Hawkeye series that Matt Fraction wrote, I want to say. But yeah, I was just curious if you knew anything more.
I do not.
Fair enough. Moving on.
Well, I would say the thing I'm most excited for in this is definitely Steve Rogers the musical.
Yeah, that does look funny.
Yeah. It seems like almost like a little riff on Hamilton in some ways, but just by the poster being like yellow and that's similar silhouette style.
Yeah, I think there's like a little clip of it in the you see briefly in the trailer too.
Clip, and it's basically all the Avengers.
Yeah, it makes it seem like
on stage.
At least one episode will have them feature something at the Rogers the musical.
Yep. So look forward to that coming, like we said, November 24th for a 6-episode run straight to Disney Plus. But if you want to know what else is coming to Disney Plus and your favorite streaming services, you can find out right here on Adam Schwartz's completely subjective new to streaming list for the week of September 12th through the 18th. To Netflix, we're getting Schumacher. This is a Netflix F1 documentary on the German racer Michael Schumacher and his career in the sport. So if you're waiting for that
Interesting.
next Drive to Survive season to come out, because it's going to be a while, this can kind of hold you over in the meantime.
Till next
Michael
spring.
Schumacher, renowned as one of, if not the best racers in F1 history,
Yeah, that's correct.
as far as I know.
His son Mick also races right now
Races
for Haas.
now for Haas,
Yeah.
and I think his record recently just got beaten, I think in the 2020 season, by Lewis Hamilton for most race wins.
Yeah. For Michael, Mick is much less.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Yes, I'm sorry. I did not mean to mix those two up. But yes, I think Lewis Hamilton just beat his.
Yeah, he
his
did.
record.
For the most championships, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna check this out. I think.
Yeah, I think
think
I
that-
will as well.
If I'm not mistaken, he's still in the coma. He was in a horrible ski accident.
Yeah, he was in a bad accident. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know.
And I think he may still be in a coma.
I do not know.
But anyways,
Let us know, your
I'm
Nathaniel.
sure
I don't know if
the
you're looking it up or not, but
I'm sure the documentary may go into that, or maybe it won't. But either way,
Yeah.
probably check it out.
also coming to Netflix is Birth of the Dragon. This is a 2017 martial arts action drama set in San Francisco's Chinatown with Bruce Lee, and it's about his emergence in Hollywood. So if you want another martial arts flick to follow up Shang-Chi with, you can check that out. There are 4 Jaws movies coming to Netflix. We got Jaws, the original, Jaws 2, Jaws 3, and Jaws, The Revenge. All 4 coming to Netflix. I have not seen any of the sequels. Are they worth a watch?
No,
Good to know. Good to know.
they're very very. They quickly go downhill. Second one, I guess, is okay. But Roy Scheider only came back because he had a 3-picture deal and was required to. I think they were even going to let him out early if he did Jaws 2. Jaws 3 is Jaws 3D, which features a young Dennis Quaid when a Jaws shark gets into like a SeaWorld style amusement park, I guess. And everyone's kind of trapped underwater in one of those mazes kind of thing. And then Jaws 4, which is The Revenge, is famously bad. And it also features Sir Michael Caine. And who famously, I'm pretty sure famously or infamously said, someone asked him if he'd seen Jaws 4, and he was like, no, I haven't seen the movie, but I have seen the house it built, and it's worth every penny, basically, or whatever. Something to that effect. But yeah, go check out at least Jaws 1, or if I've sold you on any of those based off those descriptions, check out the rest of them as well.
Yeah. That's going to be it for Netflix. Netflix. That's
Old
like
Netflix.
that sounds like a brand of cereal.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. To Amazon Prime, we're getting As Above, So Below.
Good movie.
Ooh.
Yeah. Nathaniel and Blake, you guys are pretty high on that, right?
Yeah, we brought that up a few times. Found footage from about 2014 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
something around
recommend
there.
for a spooky September, October, Halloween night type thing.
Yeah. That's it for Amazon Prime. To Hulu, you're getting Maze Runner: The Death Cure from 2018. How many Maze Runner movies are there? That was something I was wondering.
4? 3?
I think there's only 3. So you got the Maze Runner in 2014, the Scorched Trials in 2015, and the Death Cure in 2018. I've only seen the first one.
I've seen the first 2 and read the books, and I was so mad at the book ending that I didn't watch the third movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those books being very popular from like 2008 to like 2014.
I think I
when those
read
came
like
out.
all 3 of them in a day. Like they're not too tough,
Yeah.
but they're fun.
Not for humble brag master's degree guy.
Anyone with a high school diploma could also do that. But yeah, they're fun. I actually really liked the first movie. I thought the second one was pretty good, pretty decent too. It felt like kind of a cut above those other kind of dystopian action thrillers that were out there at the time.
Mm-hmm. That's it for Hulu. HBO Max is getting The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the Western from 1966.
Classic.
Yeah, another classic. Then to Disney Plus, we're getting Marvel's What If, Episode 6. And that rounds out the list here. So, Nathaniel, we can transition right over to what we're watching if you want to talk about What If Episode 6.
I will.
Is that the final What If episode? Just out of curiosity.
There is going to be 9 What If episodes.
9. Okay.
Yes.
Are they trying to do? Are all of those Marvel shows? Are they 9 apiece?
No, they vary. I'm pretty sure. Don't they?
WandaVision, I believe, is 8, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki are both 6.
Yeah, I was just saying Loki was only 6, and then they were saying Hawkeye is only 6 as well.
Right.
Yeah. So this was the zombie episode, where everyone in the Marvel. There's a pretty famous What If run in the comic series that is Marvel Zombies, and I haven't read it. Have you, Tyler?
I have not.
Yeah, I haven't. Like I said, I haven't read it either, but I don't know if the plot is the exact same as this one. I don't think it is, because this ties pretty heavily into the Infinity War plot, in that the zombie outbreak happens almost immediately as Thanos is trying to invade New York with like the Black Order and everything. So I thought the timing was really interesting. I didn't love this episode, if I'm completely honest. I thought the tone was really uneven throughout all of it, but still enough to keep you interested. I mean, this is kind of one that I know a lot of the Marvel fans had pegged as kind of a definite must-see episode of this season, just because that Marvel Zombies kind of run is so kind of famous. But I gotta say, I was a little bit disappointed with this episode overall. So hopefully they can kind of kick it around next week and keep it going. But we'll see. I'm excited. You know, I'm still in on the show. I'll definitely finish it out. So, you guys hear me still?
Yeah, we got you.
Cool. I just want to make sure my video is coming back up there. So yeah, that was my kind of review of What If. I don't know, Tyler, you said you haven't watched this new episode yet. So, listeners, if any of you are watching it or keeping up or anything like that, email me at the show, backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. You know, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit, since these guys haven't been keeping up with it besides Tyler. Or, you know, if I say something that I don't like an episode, maybe you really like the Marvel or the Zombies episode. Tell me more. What else I watched this week, though, as I kind of alluded to, I don't know if it'll make it into the pod, but I was out of town on a vacation earlier this week, going to visit Arizona, seeing some of my homies back there. So I really didn't get to a ton. I been keeping up with the latest Ted Lasso episode. That was really excellent, as all of them have been. Adam, I know you were up to date, right?
I started watching the episode last night, watched about half of it, and fell asleep. So I haven't watched it all. But
Bold call.
yeah, I was very tired.
That's fair. It's an excellent episode. The show's excellent. Everyone who's watching it feels like that at this point, I think. There's been some talk, I guess, that people don't feel it's been quite as good as season 1. I think the show's still functioning on all levels. This is definitely an episode where they introduce a lot more kind of drama, I guess you could say, into the show. But it's what the show has also been building towards this season. So it's really, really good. I also have been keeping up with the newest episodes of My Hero Academia. Tyler, have you been watching any of that at all too?
Not after whatever they put up last.
Okay.
Like
so
before
after the kind of break that they went on before they okay. So they started the arc after that, which most people will know as the My Villain Academia arc, which is basically, if you haven't watched the show, there's a group of heroes and a group of villains, kind of like X-Men in high school, and you've spent a lot of time with the hero folks. Now you're spending a lot of time with the villainous characters. It's not my favorite arc in the comic run or manga, but it's been doing pretty well on the show as well. So if you're a fan of that, check it out. But other than that, really the only thing that I got to, which I kind of referenced last week and I told the guys about, was I started watching The Wire. So I got 2 episodes into that, and yeah, that's really excellent.
Gotcha. If you can walk me back on that, what's the end?
Yeah,
of
I'm gonna have
episode
to. I'm gonna have to look it up too because I think it was like it was Tuesday that I watched those things, or like Wednesday when I last watched it.
Right, I remember you shot the group chat a text.
Yeah, it was immediately one of those shows that you're like, oh no, this is gonna be very, very good. Just in like
you put it on.
yeah, just in like how they set up the different characters and everything. Yeah, it's really great. Oh yes, so the end of the second episode is the guys go to the tower, the kind of younger officers, and the idiot kid, their one idiot cop that they're always having to cover for, like hits a kid in the side of the head with his pistol.
Yep. Gotcha.
So yeah, it's what I didn't know. So I never knew what the Wire was and like kind of how it is. I knew it was a cop drama, and I knew it kind of got into like all sides of it as well. But the first season that they set you up with is basically this investigation into who Stringer Bell is and like his crew. At least so far, what I've been running, and it's or what I've been watching, and it's also like this mix of two different segments of the police force, both the homicide and the narcotics side of things too. So that's been a really kind of interesting difference that you don't see a lot of too. I think is like how the different departments approach into it and how they have to like bring in the FBI and all that stuff. But just it's great acting and great writing right out the gate. You know, everyone talks about The Wire, and they do so for good reason, as Blake has on this show many times.
Yeah, spot on.
But other than that, I got to Malignant today, so I'm hot and fresh off that one. But I'm going to kick it on over to Tyler to see what he watched this week.
Well. You'd like to know what I've been seeing.
That is true.
Well, I did watch a race this weekend.
A race I watched as well, actually.
Me too.
And
Now, is that a movie or is that an anime?
no, it's a
Formula
One. F1 race.
Oh, okay. Because there's an anime named Race, and I know you're a big anime guy, and I've seen it. And I was like, maybe that's what he's talking about. But I've got you.
And it was a doozy.
Rough one
It
for
was
you.
a doozy. But yeah, it's always a good race. As long as somebody, you know, is on the podium and they're happy, and I'm glad to see it was DR3. So he always makes me happy. And McLaren got a 1-2 finish, which is always also fun to see, regardless of who's winning. So bad day for my boy Max Verstappen. Bad day for
bad
Lewis
next race for
Hamilton.
him too. He took
So-
a 5 grid penalty.
3.
I thought it was 5.
It's 3.
Okay.
But I also actually did subscribe to F1 TV, so I can
Nice.
watch everything like from now on, like whenever I want. So it's cool too, because when they had this one going, they actually had the same race from 1995 that you could watch in comparison. So it's really cool. They put like a bunch of different like incremental years up there of the same exact race, just X amount of years back. So there was like 1995, 2003, 2014, and then like the 2021. So
Because Monza's been raced on almost every year, basically, from what I know of. It's
yeah,
like a
typically they
classic
like
course.
to always potentially change the way the course is, or maybe throw
Mhm.
like a different chicane in there, or you know, something like that. But yeah, it's typically something that's on the calendar every year.
Yeah.
I also got to a couple of different things. So Leah and I had finished Chernobyl.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
So the last 2 or 3 episodes.
We only had one more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we finished that, but just a really great piece of film. I really like all 5 episodes. I think they do a really great job at just kind of portraying everything that happened, and it's really great writing, really well acted, really well shot. It's a really beautiful show as well. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's very good. Lee and I had previously also finished Breaking Bad. So in natural form, we had watched El Camino, which was a lot better than what I originally thought, or what from like my original watching of it, because the movie came out quite after the show did, so I didn't have like a direct correlation. But now that we had watched it so close together, I actually like it a lot. So if you haven't watched El Camino, or if you haven't watched the show, watch the show, then go watch El Camino. It's very, very good. It kind of puts a cute little bow on some things. So
And do you know,
it's always fun.
are they continuing any more with that after the El Camino movie?
I don't think so. As far as I know, there is Better Call Saul, which is kind of like a prequel, kind of leading into Breaking Bad. But other than that, I think they're gonna kind of just let it lie,
For sure.
which isn't a bad thing.
Totally
And
allowed.
then we also got to Cruella on Disney Plus. So that was also very
Miss
fun.
Stone, how was that?
I think it's actually really good. I like it a lot better than I may have initially thought I was going to. They do some really cool shots that I like. Emma Stone does an awesome job. I was talking to Justin. What's up, Justin? About it. Kind of after we had watched it. Excuse me. And he had kind of described it as like her, kind of like a female Joker. And I'm like, I'm totally cool with that. I'm down.
yeah.
So she definitely puts off a little bit of a crazy vibe, and you kind of get two characters out of her, which is really cool. It's always fun to see one actor or actress kind of do that role, where you can kind of see them do multiple things or multiple characters within the same film. So she did a really good job. We really liked it. So other than that, just Malignant.
You said Cruella is available on Disney Plus now, right?
It is. Without a $30 premium charge.
Forever.
So that's all I got. I think I'm gonna go ahead and kick it over to Blake.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief here. I've been had a really long week with work. Our company had a name change, so as you know, in insurance and finance, there was a lot of changes to go with that. So that's been kind of tough. So yeah, I didn't watch anything for the second week in a row, unfortunately.
Man.
Just kind of some YouTube stuff. Nothing. I haven't got a chance to really sit down any movies outside of what we're quote unquote required to watch for the podcast. So I got to Malignant on Friday, and yeah, that's really it. Just kind of digging on YouTube. Still didn't get an update on, or still do not have an update for you guys on bees, wasp, and hornets, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
And I don't think I have a fun or Big Cat fun fact today. So
That's all right, man.
that's it. I'll have a lot of thoughts on Malignant, though, fellas
Free my boy Blake.
and ladies.
I'm
And
excited.
whatever gender you please to go by, I'm down with calling you whatever you please.
All right, Adam, what's going on with you?
Yeah, I don't have a super long list, but I did get to a few things. I finished off How I Met Your Mother. I'm finally done with that. That's been a nice, long little grind, but it was fun. That last season is it's pretty fun. I liked it a lot. So moved on from that, and I have started catching up with What If. I've actually only seen the first episode, and I watched like half of the second one last night before I put on Malignant. So I liked the first episode, didn't love it, but I can already kind of tell, even what I've watched the second episode, that's probably going to be episode by episode on what I like and what I don't like as much. But I still enjoyed the first episode. The animation style is a lot different than I really actually expected it to be. It's kind of weird, a mix of a 3D and 2D animation, but I'm not opposed to it. I do like it overall.
I think
But
you get a little bit
unique.
I think you get a little bit more used to it, so you settle into it a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Because even when I put on episode 2, I was like, okay, this is much more manageable now. But when I first turned it on, I was like, this is very strange.
It is a bit jarring.
Yeah. Moving on from that, I was able to wake up early enough for that F1 race, of course, that we already talked about a little bit. So that was fun to watch. Finally got to watch at least most of that race. I did fall asleep a little bit towards the end, but woke back up. So we're all good there. It's been fun to get into that sport. I'm really, really liking it, and I can't wait to watch more. Unfortunately, we have a break this week, but that also means I don't have to wake up at 7 a.m. again. So, pros and cons. What else here? For my film class, I watched a film called A Bucket of Blood from 1959. Nathaniel, you familiar?
I'm not.
So this is an interesting one. It's only about an hour long, an hour and 6 minutes. I can read the IMDb summary here. A dim-witted busboy finds acclaim as an artist for a plastered-covered dead cat that is mistaken as a skillful statuette. The desire for more praise soon leads to an increasingly deadly series of works.
You said it's called Bucket of Blood?
A Bucket of Blood.
Is this like a Roger Corman?
It is Roger Corman.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think, after the description, it vaguely rang some bells. Is Jack Nicholson in this one?
He is not. No.
Okay. That's Little Shop of Horrors. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But this was a fun little horror romp. I mean, this is very early on in the horror days, but we were trying to get this week. We were trying to get a little bit of a vibe for Roger Corman and his style of directing that kind of carried on through Hollywood afterwards. And so you definitely got a little bit of that, but it was also fun to watch like early day horror because it wasn't necessarily a lot of gore or a lot of shock value. It was more about the characters and the themes within it.
Right.
And you definitely got that from this. If you couldn't tell from the IMDb summary, it was a little bit cryptic, but basically this busboy who has dreams of becoming an artist, he accidentally kills a cat and then covers it in clay and plays it off as a statue. And then everyone who kind of laughed at him for wanting to become an artist is now like, oh, this is really good. What else do you have? And so he continues to just start killing things and people and then covering them in clay and playing them off as statues. And so it's kind of how that escalates and how he chases fame by also killing people, basically. But it was kind of fun. Interesting. It's been fun going back and watching these older movies and try to get more of an appreciation for them because I was very anti pre-1970 film early on in this podcast, and now I've definitely kind of seen the lights a little bit, gone the other way, and so I'm starting to gain more appreciation for it, and it's been fun to do so. Let's see what else. Only a few other things here. I got back and watched Hamilton over the weekend.
Oh, okay.
In kind of a two parts. I put it on one morning and then got up and started doing things, and I put it on the next morning as well. So together I finished that because that's a 3-hour grind. But I haven't watched it in a long time, and so it was fun to go back and watch it again. Still very good. Still holds up. Still love it. And then the last thing I kind of got to this weekend was a lot of football and some tennis as well. The U.S. Open finished off with two really good final matches. The women's final had two. I think the girl who won was 18, and the girl she played against was either 18, 17, or 16 in that range. Like two very young girls. The girl that won entered the tournament ranked 150th in the world, and she had to qualify for the tournament. She didn't have a seed or anything.
She just won out, right?
What'd you say?
She just won out, right?
Yeah, she didn't lose a set the whole tournament. She won I think it was 16 straight sets, 13 or 16 straight sets.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch. It was a good final match as well. And then on the men's side, Novak Djokovic got denied for his calendar Grand Slam by Daniil Medvedev in 3 straight sets, and that was also wild to watch because he had lost a few sets throughout the tournament, but he hadn't lost in any of the majors all year and got to the finals. Part of that is because Djokovic is a great player. One of the big three, one of the greatest of all times. He's now tied at 20 Grand Slam wins with Federer and Nadal. I think they all have 20. But the other 3 tournaments, Federer played in the French Open and Wimbledon, but did not play in the U.S. Open, and he's been struggling since he's returned from his break for COVID and as well as a surgery, I believe, on his knee. And then Nadal also didn't play in the U.S. Open, and he played in the French, and I think he might have missed. I don't think he missed Wimbledon, but it was just of the big 3, he was the only one who played in all 4 and really had a strong season and has been playing for a while. So it was a little tilted in his favor. He wasn't facing the competition that he usually has faced over the past 15 years. And that's part of why he got the opportunity to go for that slam like he did. But he got denied in the U.S. Open Finals, which was a crazy thing to watch because Daniil Medvedev. I don't think it was a rematch of last year's U.S. Open. I think Daniil Medvedev, he got to the finals. I believe it was last year or the year before of the U.S. Open, but he got back there and got his first Grand Slam victory, which was crazy to watch. I'm personally not a Djokovic fan. I was actually kind of rooting for him to lose. I didn't want him to win. My favorite of the big three is Federer, and so I hope he can get a recovery and still get another Grand Slam or two under his belt before he retires. But Djokovic, I used to like a lot more, but slowly I've seen more behind-the-scene things of his off-the-court conduct, and he did a lot of dumb stuff during COVID where he hosted a tennis tournament and then ended up getting like about 15 players, including himself, sick. Just a bunch of dumb stuff. So I'm not really a big Djokovic guy anymore, but I do respect him for what he's done. And he, regardless of who he was playing this year and how the other big three have entered the tournaments and their state of the health and whatever that is, still almost pulling off the Grand Slam or the calendar Grand Slam the way he did, which is winning all four of the majors. That's still very impressive. Then football, of course. Yeah, we had college football Saturday. Mizzou losing to Kentucky in a close game. That was a very strange game. I don't know if any of you guys caught that, but it kept going a little bit back and forth. But we could not pull it out in the end.
Yeah, I actually did catch that, and that's kind of not even to that I have to speak on that, but yeah, that was a bulk of my weekend. I obviously was watching a ton of football. There was NFL finally too. It's like that's all I did on Saturday and Sunday. So that's why I didn't watch like any movies.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So yeah, that was kind of a bulk of that. And just to interrupt Adam real quick, what I did get into this weekend, and I forgot to bring it up, is I saw a Dave Chappelle stand up. So I went to Milwaukee for Summerfest.
Oh, you saw him live?
Saturday evening, and I saw Dave Chappelle live for a stand-up comedy show, and that was awesome. That might be the highlight of my summer. So that was really cool.
I'm sure that's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Had to lock your phone up. Couldn't record or anything.
I don't
think it was recorded for Netflix or anything either. So yeah, that was hilarious. That's just a naturally funny guy. You can see a lot of the jokes were kind of just, I mean, he didn't go up there with a plan. It's definitely just kind of filling the crowd. You know what I mean? But yeah, naturally funny guy. Awesome. If you ever had a chance to see somebody like that in stand up or in person, I'd recommend to do that.
For sure.
Yeah, my brother's a huge comedy fan, and so we've been to quite a few comedy shows myself, and stand-up comedy live is completely different than like a Netflix special. Yeah, comedy specials or stand-up specials are one of my favorite things to go to as far as an event. Yeah. So yeah, football basically most of Saturday and Sunday, and that kind of runs out my list. Besides, of course, Malignant. Welcome, listeners, to the main review segment here at Back Row Banter. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new, or maybe they just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how our review segment works?
What up, folks? If you're new or if you have forgotten, listen up. We're going to talk about the review segment. The way the review segment works is like this. It's broken down into two different sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. Pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go into the movie, when it came out, who directed it, storyline, basic stuff like that. We'll also go around and give our initial thoughts, at least up until any spoiler moments or anything like that. And at the end of that time, we'll all just come together and decide, do we recommend this movie, yes or no? Has to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. From then on, it's going to be spoiler zone. Don't leave yet. Come back for the rest of it. We'll see where this ranks on our entropy list. But we're also going to go in that spoiler section, obviously, into any big spoilers, which there will be for this movie. Spoiler alert. Or, any big, deeper thoughts that we had about the movie overall, and really kind of dig into it a little bit. And like I said before, if you do happen to miss out on that, do feel free to come back. You will hear a noise, and it will be marked in the show notes to see where this ranks on our entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on this show ranked. Adam, tell us more about Malignant.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is Malignant 2021, a new film. Rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes. This is directed, of course, by one James Wan of The Conjuring, of Insidious, of Aquaman fame, whatever you want
Saw.
to point to. Saw. Sorry, I probably should have gone there first, right?
Dead
Saw.
Silence.
Yeah, the list goes on. We could go for a while. But you probably know
Genius.
James Wan. If you're a fan of the pod, you've wow, he's throwing the G word out there. All right.
Definitely.
I'm not even gonna debate him, but all right. If you're a fan of the pod, you've probably seen some of his work. We've reviewed quite a few of his movies, including the first two Conjurings, in which he's directed, Insidious as well. Written by James Wan, along with Ingrid Bisu and Akilah Cooper.
Yeah.
Bisu is more of an actress, as I'm looking at her IMDb.
She's his
been in a
wife.
Oh, okay, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, they're. I don't know if they've done much co-writing together, but they are. They have been working together for a long time. She's in most of the Conjuring films.
She is, yeah, and she only has 3 writing credits under her IMDb. The other 2 being some TV shows, but. So yeah, his wife, I guess, did not know that personally. Thank you for that, Nathaniel.
Not a problem.
And then Akilah Cooper. Don't tell me that's his other wife.
Not as far as I'm aware.
Ooh, okay.
But it is Hollywood. Who knows, right?
Okay. So she's done a few other things, including she's going to be working on The Nun 2 with James Wan, and then she's done a few episodes of American Horror Story. Mainly a lot of TV stuff as I'm looking at her IMDb. So this is kind of her
Hellfest, which I think
Hellfest. I'm sorry, I missed.
Blake, you watched
over that.
during we've been on the pod since you've seen that, right?
Yes, sir. That was maybe I'd give or take 2-3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Similar feel to this one, would you say?
I liked Hellfest.
Okay.
I
It's a
have
very
some
different
very
style
strong
of horror,
feelings, for this movie, and I'll be able to kind of indulge in those shortly.
Fair enough. Adam, continue.
Yes, this film stars Annabelle Wallis. She's been in quite a few things. I wasn't super familiar though. She's been in X-Men, Annabelle,
She's in The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
The Mummy with Tom Cruise, of course. Peaky Blinders, she's in that. Star Trek Discovery. So she's been around for sure. She, from what I can tell, hasn't had something major come out like this. So this kind of feels like, to me, from what I can tell, her first like kind of big role. I don't know if you have anything else on that, Nathaniel, though.
She's the main character in Annabelle, the movie.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah, and
I have not
that
seen
Where I caught her from.
in that one, and she's the co-lead, I guess, if you want to call it that, in The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
She's the romantic lead, I guess. But yeah, she's in this as well. Other than that, like I don't know any particular of these other big names or any of the other names in the cast. I know you sometimes ask me. There's not a character actor I stand out for me or anything like that. In this one.
Yeah, so Maddie Hassan, and then George Young and Nicole Brianna White. Those are the other 3 main stars of the film. Looking at their IMDb's earlier, none of them stood out to me as like anything that they've been in like huge films or projects. So a lot of TV shows I saw on there, and then a few smaller movies. Nicole Brianna White has a lot of acting credits. I think around 60 or so. But they're mainly like smaller roles, or like background characters, stuff like that on like TV shows and stuff. So she's been around, but this is, again, seems like one of her more bigger projects that she's worked on.
Gotcha.
The IMDb summary reads as follows. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. Good IMDb summary. I like the wordplay there. I like the little sentence structure there. Her torment worsens as she discovers these the waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. That's a good line right there. As far as a one sentence summary goes, I'm pretty pleased.
It's very literary.
What I'm not pleased with is the 6.3 out of 10 stars on IMDb. What the flying fuck is that? This movie's incredible. Give it 10 out of 10 stars. Get every fucking award you can. I love this movie so goddamn much.
I'm so happy you said that, Adam. I mean, I'm with you, dude. It took me a minute. I had to get through the opening scene.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a minute, but then once I got to the opening scene, I was like, okay, I think I know what this movie wants to be.
Yeah.
And I was like fucking sold after that, dude. I love this movie.
Because going into this, I don't think any of us really knew exactly what to expect. The trailers don't give off a lot.
Absolutely not.
And so with that, go ahead, Blake.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say absolutely not. That they don't.
So with
I
the
like that, though.
sequence, I definitely agree, and that's why I was partially really excited to go into this because I was like James Wan, but I don't know what this is gonna be. Like I have no expectations for this, but my only expectation being that it's James Wan, it gets me excited. And so with that opening sequence, even though I don't know going to this film what it's gonna be, what kind of track it's gonna take, but that opening sequence, you immediately kind of know what direction this is gonna go for, and it's not necessarily what you thought it was gonna be. Based on the trailer, and so I was sold right then and there, and it kind of just takes off from there, and I was just on board the whole way, and just loving it more and more as it went on.
Did you guys catch this in theaters?
I personally did not, and I actually really regret not going to theaters. I watched it on HBO Max last night. So part of me is like, as I was watching this, I was like, man, I really wish I could have gone to see this in theaters. And I thought that about 20 minutes in, and I was already like, wow, this would have been incredible in theaters. But at the same time, this movie looked amazing with my hue lights because there's a lot of great colors and stuff. And so watching with the hue lights and getting those reds, getting those, those darker tones, and then there's some like cop lights and stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of great color in this. And so it was that added to it a lot, and that was really fun. And so I was glad in that aspect I did. But as far as like, we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, in spoilers, but the soundtrack in this is great. All the sound and everything is really, really good, and it really draws you in. And so I had my speaker at not an obnoxious level, but as high as I could go without kind of annoying my roommates, because I really wanted to get as much sound and good sound as possible.
Tyler, you have yet to speak.
I'm a bit torn.
Okay.
I am not anywhere close to loving this movie. I don't hate it, but I think if someone were to ask, I'd probably say you could skip it.
Right.
Wow.
I can understand that, though.
I got some things that I really love.
Yeah.
But the pros don't outweigh the cons for me.
Are there some non-spoiler things you can point to that reasons you don't like it as much?
I feel like it was really, really choppy, and I feel like it's going to be pretty hard to. It's funny because it's like it's hard to put them together, but it's almost too easy to put them together. I don't know if that makes sense. And I think I may have found this out a little too early, and I was just kind of like, I'm kind of out. So, I think that's my biggest part.
Did you have something spoiled for you? Are you saying you had something? Are you saying you had something spoiled for you, or that you put together the story?
No, I put it together. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And I'm not really like the detective type. I don't go out there like searching for it, like thinking. I like to go into movies pretty blind and hoping that I'm pleasantly surprised. And I don't know. This one didn't quite hit it for me.
Yeah, I got a feeling this one's going to be pretty divisive with viewers as well, just because it is a big swing. This movie is a gigantic swing. It feels like James Wan was just like, hey, listen, Warner Brothers, I made you $1 billion with Aquaman. I'm going to do what I want now. And you guys are just going to have to be cool with that. Don't worry, it's not going to cost too much. I don't need Tom Cruise to star in it or anything like that. I don't need, Chris Hemsworth or anyone, but I want to go make my thing now. I'm going to go do that. But yeah, I am not quite as positive as Adam and Blake are on this, but I'm pretty close.
Okay.
I would say this is a movie that, from my viewing of it, and we talk a lot about movies knowing exactly what they are. This is a movie that 100% understands what it is, and I think it understands itself so much that it is actively always trying to get you to be more comfortable with what it is. Like, I can feel it doing the work. If that makes sense to some people, I don't know. That might have been too much of a stupid master's degree thing to say.
I agree.
But there's definitely a few issues I have with it, and story-wise, as much in kind of the way they tell some of the story. But overall, I think these are the type of movies I like to see coming out of the horror genre, especially from someone who I would consider one of the modern day masters. As well, in that it is going to be a big swing, but it's going to be a big swing with style, and it's going to be a big swing with a lot of character to it, and like that may hit with you or it may not, but I'm okay with that. Those are the type of risks I like to see films taking. So definitely a recommend from me for sure.
Good point.
Yeah, this is, if you can't already tell, a recommend for me. And I was taken aback when Tyler said he would tell people to skip it, because I actually might actively go out and tell people to watch this movie, and I already kind of have a little bit with the people I've talked to about it.
Yeah.
I think, oh man, I loved this movie. I think Nathaniel said it knows it understands what it is, and it's just such a great amalgamation of so many different things into one, and it just works for me personally.
It's interesting. I think Blake and I, there is a lot in this movie that is not taken, but is like James Wan's version of a style of film. Like, it is James Wan's like kind of medical horror movie kind of thing. Science, I should say, and obviously the ghost and everything too. But like, it's definitely of a certain style of subgenre in horror, and I think that is something like if you know all those references, I think it's also a little bit of like different engagement level too. But like, for example, Tyler, you've seen quite a few horror movies, but Brandon, who hasn't seen as much either, he did not like this movie either.
Yeah.
So I think that may be some things to me. Like, the first thing he said when I came out of it, he's like, as a horror guy, what does that speak for you? And I was like, well, it means a lot in this context. And so I think that may be a little bit part of it too. But I mean, like I said, I'm pretty positive on it overall. But I definitely think this one's going to divide some listeners that we got.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that. And I mean, I even caught up with some of my friends on Sunday when we were watching the games, and one of my friends brought up to me, it's like, hey, so I saw Malignant. Did you get a chance to see it? I told him, yeah, we talked about it briefly. Another gentleman, Tyler, but he's not the most horror savvy guy, right? So he kind of had the same opinion, where it's like, yeah, like, I thought the movie was terrible, and I can certainly see that if you're not coming, similar to how Waz is, right? If you're not coming from a horror background where you don't have that appreciation of a horror movie that's aware of what it is, and you can kind of pick up on those clues really early, where maybe that may have taken a long time for someone to pick up if they're not looking for those clues, or they may have sat through the entire movie and not even picked it up at all, and like, oh my God, this is terrible. You know what I mean? So it's definitely polarizing. And you can kind of see that with some of the reviews online, but I think my final takeaway is I think in years to come, I think this will become a cult classic.
For sure. Yeah, I think
So too.
It's a movie that asks you to take it for a very big suspension of disbelief, and if it doesn't nail that right at the start with you, it's a movie that's never going to get that from you, basically.
Right.
But yeah, should we?
For me,
go ahead.
I just want to add on to that really quick. For me, watching a horror movie like that, I already signed up for the suspension of disbelief.
Okay.
So I was already sold. That opening sequence kind of told me exactly what I needed to prepare myself for, and in that regard. And so I was cool with it.
Let me ask you guys this before we kind of get into more of the spoiler stuff. On a scare level, did this one get you?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
0.
Yeah, it wasn't hugely scary in a lot of places, but it's still got like I'm not the biggest horror guy either.
Right.
Probably of the four of us, I'm probably at the bottom of the pack. So it's probably scared me a little bit more than you guys, but it wasn't like I have to turn this off, can't watch this.
Not to the level
Yeah.
of a Conjuring or even an Insidious or anything.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
that.
No.
Yeah, probably not. No.
I'd agree with you, and I'll backtrack the zero statement. There are a few scenes in here that are very Wan-esque,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Where there's like it's like leads to a jump scare, leads to a jump scare, leads to a jump scare. You think it's coming here, you think it's gonna come from around the corner, you think it's gonna come there, and then it doesn't happen, and then boom, it happens, right? So there are about 3 of those I can point out that I'm like, okay, like this is exactly how James Wan does his movies. So there are very brief scenes of that, but I mean, tonally, the movie is completely different from anything else he's done.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just it's a definitely a different style of horror that he's going for on this one.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's jump into spoilers, fellas.
Yeah, so that's 3 out of 4 of us recommending. Ty, you said you're not a recommend.
Yeah.
This is good. I like it. I like it when we have dissenting opinions here.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely agree on that, and I can't wait to see how this unfolds in spoilers. But of course, if you have not seen *Malignant*, you definitely do not want it spoiled for you. So go ahead and check the episode description so you can check the timestamp to jump to, where you'll be taken to a ranking up upon the Entropy list.
Then it's on HBO Max, folks.
Spoilers. Yeah, it's on HBO Max. Go watch it and then come back for the spoilers. Don't do spoilers if you haven't seen it. I beg of you, please. Spoilers.
Oh, we gotta turn on the sound. Shit goes down.
Oh my god.
Some would say that shit in some ways goes down.
Yeah. So then,
This is probably like the most shit goes down movie we've ever seen.
Yeah, and just kind of how this movie went. I feel like we can kind of be all over the place on this one.
Yeah, we probably will be.
So talk to me, Ty. So you said you kind of put it together. What exactly did you put together? Because I'll kind of pinpoint you to where I was at. Going through it, I'm thinking like there's some type of like Siamese twin type thing going on.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the biggest thing I could connect. I was like, I know that's part of it. Can't really tell how. I didn't see it coming out of the back of her fucking head and being it
Voldemort style
demonic tumor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, what did you see, Ty?
Yeah. So I think at the beginning you obviously get a really good scene. I really like the beginning. It kind of throws you right into it, and you're like, all right, well, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And then you kind of hear like all these sounds, and then it's kind of almost creature-esque, and then you get his little hands in the chair.
Right.
And so now you're kind of like, all right, well, I don't know what the fuck this is either, but it's got human feet. So at some point you got to think that, like, kind of like what you said, it's connected at some point to a human.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I kind of figured there's got to be either some part of her that kind of got cut out, or there's got to be some part of her that is still there, or maybe they tried to remove it, but it regrew in there, like kind of like a tumor.
That's where I was going with it. I was thinking, obviously, it was a tumor.
So, yeah, and then as soon as they kind of did like the cloak, like the black hair and everything like that, I was kind of like, well, that's got to be her.
Right.
So like they're way too similar for that not to be her, or it's got to be some kind of, it's got to be a piece of her, or this thing that they're taking out, was a part of her at one point. It's kind of trying to replicate her.
I think, that's definitely where I was like, it started ringing a few bells, and I was on the same boat of like, I think it's like a Siamese twin kind of thing, and I thought maybe they had removed it and they'd like grown it separately or something like that.
Exactly.
And then
that's kind of what I was.
They were still connected because there was still a part of her in the brain, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then
exactly.
The other part of me that goes, well, that's Basket Case, or that's The Brood, or that's It's Alive. It's like there's a whole genre of those films from the 70s and 80s that already exist. So and that's where I was like, okay, now I understand. Juan is entering his version of this into the canon, and like what he's going to say with this and what this is going to be for him, and that's where I very much kind of like clicked in that I was like, oh, okay, this is the kind of movie that he's kind of setting up here, and it just stood out a little bit more to me. I don't know, for whatever reason, this one to me made me realize, or made me kind of like appreciate James Wan that he knows what his catalog is and kind of the different styles that he's hit, and that he still wants to keep doing different versions of those, just makes me happy, you know. And I think it I don't know. I was pretty positive overall, but Tyler, talk more.
Yeah.
I didn't think the acting was particularly good. I almost kind of felt like I was in like the middle of like a CW show, and I was kind of like, you know. But I also get the fact that it's kind of supposed to be like that.
I think it is.
You guys referred to, you know, this knows exactly what it is, and I definitely get that. Like one of the other things that was, it's kind of a hit, and that's why I'm telling you, like I'm so like in between on this thing. I think like Adam was surprised by like a 6 out of 10. I think that's where it should be. I think it's kind of like just above that halfway point. And the biggest thing for me is, and I think this is going to be the biggest thing for a lot of viewers or listeners as well, is you fall into a lot of tropes, and like the monster under the bed, and there's a dark closet. Well, the light just turned off by itself, so why the fuck would you go in there?
Yeah, right. It's laughable.
Right.
Yeah.
So, or like, you know, the back door is open, or there's wet footprints, the window opened. And so there's a lot of these things that I get, and I know why he did them. And I think, unfortunately, it's going to fall short with a lot of people, because a lot of people don't want to see that. I think some people want to see something that's a little bit more original. And you obviously get the original portion of this, but you really don't get it until the end. And I think some people are going to be way too far out on this movie by the time they get to the end.
Yeah, I mean,
so I could see that.
I think that
I definitely see that.
I think that just like falls into like kind of what we were talking about earlier with that's you have to nail that suspension of disbelief, and if you don't, then you're never going to get bought into it. Like we were kind of saying, and I genuinely think that's why the dialogue is corny. And there are those corny moments in there, is because Juan is so aware of how insane the premise is going to get that he needs to make you comfortable with like cheesiness, corniness, over emotional thing. Because like if you try to shoot this script like it was Hereditary, you'd have people falling like apart in the theaters, right? Like he knows that this movie needs to be crazy because the final act is batshit insane. Like,
dude, so I mean, you're definitely spot on. Even just kind of like the pre-credit scene. Like, I'll tell you what I was thinking. So I'm watching that, and obviously at this point we don't really know what the movie is, and I'm like, this has to be something the characters are watching, right?
Okay,
like I thought they were watching a movie, and it was like the hospital.
Okay, yeah,
You see what
sure,
I'm
I
saying?
gotcha. Yeah,
Like doesn't like Scream 4 start that way or something like that?
Yep, with a movie in a movie.
Like, and I was like, because like it was so bad. And like so cheesy. I'm like, this has to be intentional. They're sitting there watching a movie. And then like slowly, that obviously wasn't the case. And then the film starts, and I'm kind of hearing some of the dialogue and just hearing like just the music and like the pianos and violins behind like every shot and every time somebody said something. And that's when I was like, I'm sold, dude. I definitely know what this movie's going for. And it was a pleasant surprise. I think the reason I'm so high on it is because it was a surprise. Right, it's completely opposite of what I went into thinking. I kind of went in there thinking it's going to be another James Wan, very creepy haunted house type thing, which I would have been cool with, and I think that would have been a very good movie. And I think James Wan knows that, and I think that's why he kind of went off the rails with something like this. And like, hey, this is probably the most fun I've ever had directing a movie, so like, fuck it, you can watch it. You know.
Does it feels a little, and Brandon Waz was actually the first one to point this out to me and make the connection, but it does feel a little Sam Raimi-ish in a lot of ways.
It does.
Like Evil Dead, Drag Me to Hell, like kind of that kind of vibe for sure.
It definitely, dude. It's a horror, campy, B-movie type thing where, I mean, it's hilarious, dude. I mean, fucking the sister's wig. What's the sister's name? Is it Sydney, I believe?
Sydney's the sister.
Yeah, like even just like her wig. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, that just looks fucking terrible. And I think all that stuff it's just meant to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you pick up on that.
That being said, the bit where the woman falls through the ceiling, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But like it was so I loved that bit. There were so many
and Madison screams and like the camera zooms in.
Oh,
on
he
her
gets that
face.
great.
It's
Yeah,
so
there's
good.
so much style in this movie, and like each shot is beautiful at one, but like it's just something it feels like you don't see in like 2020 filmmaking anymore. There's all those great, really slow zooms into all the characters and everything. You get the crazy synth score that comes in, and it's funny. I love watching Juan because you always see him steal or take from previous movies and then use it in his next movie. Or a lot of times he'll steal from Lee Winnell too. And I was noticing in the shots kind of early on, I think there's a bit where she like comes into the room or something and she sees the cushion kind of rise back up as if someone's just stood off
her
it.
husband sees it.
Yeah, and I was just like, Invisible Man. He stole that from Invisible Man. Like I just saw that as well. And yeah, I don't know. I do have issues with the movie. I think Tyler nailed them in a couple different areas. In that, like, if you don't get the suspension of disbelief early on, you won't get it. And this is a movie that hinges on its reveal of specific information, namely how the Gabriel character, what his connection to Emily is, and how he manifests. And once you learn that, the movie's kind of essentially over from the viewer's point of view of the arc of the film, right? After that, you're kind of like, I don't really care what happens to the... Yeah, it is. And it is kind of like, it's both climax and resolution, but the problem is that still leaves you with 20 minutes of film left, or 10 or 15 minutes of film left.
I agree.
And so, and again, once you kind of have that resolution, for a lot of us, I think that's to the point where which you kind of emotionally disengage a little bit. So then like the dialogue becomes a little bit more wooden after that. And like, I can definitely see where that line is and where a lot of people are going to, come in or come out of that. But overall, I just had a ball with it. I thought it was really, really fun.
See, for me, I didn't mind that 30 or so minutes after that reveal because it kind of just owns up to it, and then it switches. It's no longer about the suspense of what this killer is, and then it's not a 10-minute resolution after that.
It's action.
It switches exactly. It switches to an action movie. It straight up switches to an action movie, and I love that. It's such a great mix of so many different genres within horror as well as action, all coming together, and I just feel like it works so well. It's kind of like a creature flick, kind of like a haunting,
body
as
horror,
well as body horror, as well as an action movie.
Yeah, it's
with
giallo.
Pretty
It's
brutal gore.
What's the other one I'm trying to think of? It's like sci-fi horror, body horror for sure.
Yeah.
Don't love digital blood effects. I'm still on this boat. I do not like them. They never really work for me. In this one, it's kind of okay because it plays into the stylistic side of things, but like practical gore effects are just so much better than CGI ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot of CGI in this movie.
There is.
Definitely.
I would say as far as CGI, the only thing I don't really care for is the way they kind of like when the figure is standing outside the window on the street.
The shadow.
I think that could have been done a lot better. And then the transforming of like the walls.
Yeah.
Kind of bothered me a little bit of when they kind
that's
of go
a
like
ton
from
of
that
CGI.
scene.
Yeah,
A ton.
I didn't mind that, but
But part of me is like, I don't know how else they would do that.
yeah, no, I
Right,
think it's a great visualization of how that kind of looks to the character.
And
I think it's kind of cool.
So I did think the couple of good things that I did like was one when the mom originally gets captured and they're up in the attic and he's making the dagger.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that. I think that takes me back to kind of like the Insidious days where they actually kind of make the creature kind of like a form and he's got like a layer, and I actually really kind of like that. So I didn't mind that part. Not necessarily the score, even though James Wan typically has a pretty good score. Blake, I think you mentioned like the violins and everything kind of during like jump scares and everything like that. I like that, but I think the audio overall in general in this is a little bit more important. I think if you go and see this in an Atmos theater, or if you're wearing headphones like myself, you get a really good representation of like the 360-degree sound that they're trying to mix. There's a couple shots where they go almost kind of around her in a circle, and you can hear the audio really kind of all the way around the house, and you get a lot of these creaks and bangs, and I really actually like that aspect. So that was something that actually kind of hit the nail on the head for me. And then one of the other things that I liked is anytime a movie tries to either make a big set small or a small set big, when you try to play on that, it really makes me happy because it gives you a really big sense of kind of definition of where you're actually at. And the one scene in particular where she's in the house by herself, and then they go
down.
Yeah, they go from the top down, and they kind of change,
awesome shot, dude.
and they give you kind of like the dollhouse effect. That's kind of like where I was like, all right, that was an awesome fucking shot.
Yeah.
So
That was a great shot, and I definitely got some Hereditary vibes from it too, because they do some of that stuff where it kind of goes through walls. If it was like they do like the play sets. Yeah, the little toy houses stuff. Really quick, the composer of the score is Joseph Bishara, who has done a lot of James Wan stuff. All three of the Conjuring movies, all three of the Insidious movies. So, excuse me. He's been on a lot of that stuff. So but to me, this one stood out above the rest, where it was a very notable score that I think played into the story and everything, and the atmosphere as well, really, really well. And so I really enjoyed it in this regard.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the kind of Gabriel's lair, where it just gives you like the Insidious vibes, right? Where they see like the devil's like workshop thing.
Yeah,
that's like the first thing I thought of too, where you get to see him kind of pulling from his own films in that regard. I love just like the quirky, cheesy dialogue of just like between the characters, and it's like she's like Madison's like, I'm adopted, and like it like zooms in on her face, and there's like music behind it. When she's going to get the records on her sister, Sydney, and she's like reading it. And then she's like, records basement. And then I was like, that was such a horror thing, because it's like, of course. And then she was like, of course it's in the basement, you know? And I just love stuff like that. Scream has lines like that where it just knows what it is. And
it's so weird, isn't it? It's such an odd movie. Even now, like thinking back on it, and like I said, I just came off this one, 20 minutes ago, prior to the podcast starting. So it's fresh. It's an odd duck smorgasbord of a movie. Like there's so many ideas kind of going into it, and like I just like I said, I kind of love the audacity of it. Like I just love the
me too.
balls out.
Yeah, you almost gotta
like,
respect it.
You're just like,
for, like,
holy shit. There's a point where she's like, your fetuses, we're feeding him. That's why you couldn't have children. I was just like, oh my god, this movie's insane.
There are some trigger warnings though, because there is a lot of stuff to do with like miscarriages and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's definitely and I was kind of curious about that. I don't know if it never felt like it was too poor of taste or anything like that, because the rest of the movie I feel like is so kind of nutty, but like it was definitely like the guy's a piece of shit who's like abusing her and everything, which again just plays into those horror tropes that we've seen time and time again. So I don't know. I don't know if I have enough coherent thoughts to think if maybe there's some sort of commentary on there yet. But I had a ball, like I said.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys what. I caught it Friday. My dad watched it today when he logged off work. So I was, I'm gonna sit down and rewatch it with him just to see someone else's first viewing of it. And that was actually really cool. So I mean, if you guys ever have the chance to do that, to be like, hey, like, if you can put somebody onto that movie and just kind of get their viewing. Because I think my dad just had a ball with this movie too. You can just tell just from him watching it, the stuff you would laugh at. I'm trying to piece together like, hey, what's going on? Are they Siamese twins? Is it like something growing out of her head? You know what I mean? And you're just trying to piece it together. But yeah, it's awesome. I love the final act. That's like a fucking Matrix horror fucking action movie, where she's just tearing apart the police station. Yeah, backwards. And actually, and to even step back on that, no pun intended, when you first see Gabriel running, it looks that was so cool to me. Like we were like, oh my god, like they're running backwards, but they're not.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is that guy's head sewn onto his body backwards? Because like you're trying to figure it out, and like they were like, yeah, she was a children's prosthesis person, and I was like, okay, so maybe like she made this new body for him, but it's not right or something. Right. And you're like trying to figure out, and then there's like when the Gabriel character is like sitting on like Emily's chest at one point, I think. And is like gonna stab her, or is the other guy, and like
the old guy.
Yeah, and they're like half backwards. And I was like, whose arm is where? And it's always kind of like
it's cool though.
It was great.
It's really cool. I've never seen anything like that.
It looks really weird.
Yeah, it's unsettling and strange and like I mean, and there was other stuff too that I kept coming back to like a couple different times where I was just like, man, that's like James Wan's just so smart. Like getting that bit in early, or like having that set up here and all that kind of stuff. It just I really like how creepy were the where she's talking to him on the phone and everything as a kid. Like that was one of the ones that genuinely scared me. The cake over the mom's belly bit with the sister, that was crazy.
That was very that was one thing that was unnerving to me as well.
I thought the mom, the like biological mother thing was a little like step too far. But again, if you're in on half of this movie, you got to be in on the whole thing. So, I don't know. Yeah. Any other big opinions, Tyler? Are you hearing anything? I'm with you. I didn't think the acting was anything too great, but again, like there's so much of that feels baked into it in some ways. That it doesn't really bother me. We've talked a couple different times. It's a great looking film in my opinion. I agree. And just that like, there are things that you don't normally see done, or like can come off as weird, or like I don't know, not even unsettling, but just like odd, but they're still done well. Like it's still it's still a statement in that way.
I wish I would have caught this like in a full theater, because mine wasn't full, but just to kind of hear like laughs and stuff, like when Gabriel throws the chair
across the room.
That's just comical. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then the lady who's kind of like helping like the homicide detective team, she like comes in, she's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna call the police."
Yeah,
like,
she's like, why am I calling the police?
It's just the whole thing is it's so funny and it's so good. Yeah, James Wan is certainly, as though him, like Flanagan, newly touted Ari Aster. I mean, they know what they're doing when they're making horror movies, right? So
Flanagan's got a new trailer coming out soon.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, I think it's called Midnight Mass. If it hasn't been released yet, it's coming soon.
Movie, TV show?
Yeah, movie.
Okay.
Yeah, should be good.
Is it starring his wife?
She is in it. Yep. And a couple of the people from, I think, season 2 of Bly Manor. But yeah.
He's good for that.
Definitely. Anyways, I think that kind of wraps up my thoughts on Malignant.
Only James Wan, man. I don't think if anyone else had attempted something like this, I don't think it would have nearly been pulled off the way it was.
Terrible. Yeah.
It's funny. It's like it's almost the horror version of like Furious 7, like that same kind of tone, you know. I mean, that's also a James Wan movie. Like, I think you see a little bit of that in there, and that same kind of like that earnestness of your love for the Fast and Furious franchise, of like, we're cheesy, we just wear it on our sleeves and go for it. Like, I think that's part of that's in here. You see a little bit of that DNA in there.
The
family.
Yeah. But like you said, Nathaniel, when you make $1 billion movie, I think he went in there and he's like, I want to make a horror movie that I want to make.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they funded it, and he put it out. He marketed it well because you didn't really know what you were walking into. And as with film and art or anything of that nature, I mean, when it's polarizing and there's people on one side like, wow, this is terrible, and there's other people like, this is awesome. That's good for good to get it talking. You know what I mean? So I think this film will be in rotations in people's dialogue for a while, for sure.
I really hope it is. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for the spoiler segment here. Welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment. We're going to go ahead and rank Malignant upon the Entropy list.
Pepper Pern.
For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies. Rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever it is, we go ahead and throw all the movies we watch on a list and see how they compare to one another. If you'd like to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description, where it is linked to my Letterboxd.
Tough one.
This is going to be very...
53.
No, you motherfucker. Don't even.
That hurts my heart.
Don't even.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Are you for real? Are you for real?
Where's 53? Hang on, let me pull up.
Dude, if I have to go all the way down the list,
Below
and I'm
Trick or
looking at
Treat,
one of
above Wonder Woman.
my favorite horror movies, Trick or Treat.
That's just insulting. You think this is better than Candyman? Or worse than Candyman?
I'd have to rewatch it.
I'm insulted. Did you even
That's
watch
funny.
this movie? That makes me question if you've even watched this movie.
That's funny you said that, Adam, though, about Candyman, because like I walked out of this and I was like, I like this way more than Candyman.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? Because he wasn't even close to me. So ties at 53. We'll let Nathaniel let her rip next.
God.
I'm sure me and Adam are gonna be the highest.
I think I'm at 36. I have this.
Okay.
Just also next to another Juan movie with Conjuring 2.
Right.
Conjuring above Die Hard.
Right. Which for listeners though, that's also above Insidious.
Yeah.
Which is notoriously held as one of his better.
That is true, and I think
as well, so.
I think if it was my list, I might have those two flip flopped with Conjuring 2 and Insidious. But
okay, fair. Yeah.
That was definitely kind of the other thing that I was looking at on there. And there's like I look at this one, and I think I'm building in a little bit of just I know that it's not going to be for everyone on there into my kind of review of this a little bit, you know. So I think that it just because it is such an odd kind of movie and so auteurish, I guess.
Yeah. Very niche.
Yeah, that's just kind of where I got it. I got it. I mean, I'll go 34. I'll put it or 35. I'll put it above Conjuring 2, I think. But I think that's where I'm gonna have it at.
35 below Frozen, above The Conjuring 2. That makes that hurts me. Blake.
Yeah. I think I'm rolling with you, Adam. I mean, fuck, guys. If I'm just looking at this thing, I almost want to say I like this more than The Conjuring. Which
I'll say it. I do like it more than Conjuring.
Okay, I was like, I know Adam may agree with me.
I do.
That may sound crazy, but this may be my favorite James Wan.
This is my favorite James Wan, and I immediately once the credits rolled, I knew it was.
And I think a part of it too is like I'm a little stick. You know, I like to actually be scared when it comes down to a horror movie, and I think that plays a big factor for me when I look at the other horror movies that are on here. Conjuring, chills. That does something for me. You know?
That's definitely a scary
Conjuring 2
movie.
does something for me. The Strangers, it does something for me. Insidious does something for me. The Descent does something for me. Candyman, meh. Trick or Treat would be higher on my list. That's why it's down there.
No, I agree. I hear you on that. But yeah, if I'm looking at this, I'm above Insidious, above Conjuring 2, above The Strangers. Doctor Sleep is where I kind of start to get questionable, just because above that are objectively very good films. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of hard. But fuck, dude. I mean,
I have no qualms putting it that high.
Yeah, honestly, I think I would put this at 19.
I'm right there with you.
The one above The Conjuring. I can't put it above Kill Bill.
I can't either. That I can't in good conscience, but yeah.
Kill Bill's a lot of
19 is where
times.
I had it as well.
Yeah.
Kill Bill's a lot of
that's
times
another tier
the
of
break
films.
point. Yeah, that's so funny.
I'm sorry, what was that, Nathaniel?
I was saying Kill Bill a lot of times I feel like is the break point for a lot of our folks.
I
A lot of our
think,
movies.
Yeah, that's a totally different tier of just art once you get up there.
It's a good point.
So
All right, so 2 for 19, 1 for 34, 35, and 1 for
53.
50. God, I can't even say it out loud. I have no idea where the middle ground here is.
The average would be 31.
Would it be?
Yep.
Which would
19,
be-
19, 35, and 53 divided by 4. It's 31.
Okay.
So you'd be right above A Quiet Place,
Right,
right
above
above
A Quiet Place, below
right above
Soul.
Is there any way we could push this to above Doctor Sleep, fellas? Or
Yeah.
is that just not plausible?
Because
That's gonna be a no for me, dog.
I mean, yeah, you could convince me to go up that high, just because
Okay.
I'm almost looking at it more from a horror film standpoint, and like that's kind of where I'd go up there. But with Tyler being hard against that, I would say probably not.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to
I
for
mean,
maintain.
God,
That kills me though, dude. Man,
I'm
I
in
feel
pain.
like I settled.
I'm
a
in
lot.
pain.
If you
Yeah,
guys feel
man.
like you settled a lot, I mean, you're 2 against 1, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a rough one. How do we
This is-
determine where this
It's
goes?
polarizing. We
Can
we
we-
knew it would be.
Tyler, are you going? Can you go anything above 31? Or are you a hard no?
I don't think so, man. You guys know how I feel about A Quiet Place.
Yeah. That's
And then
tough.
you also got Halloween right there. I just
Right.
yeah.
Halloween 2017
Yeah, it is.
18.
Oh,
or
yeah.
2018.
Yeah. I hear you on that. I mean, the Quiet Place one was big. I know we got Doctor Sleep up there. I'm not sure how high you guys were on Doctor Sleep. I just kind of remember we were kind of debating that one for a while, but it seems like nobody's willing to put it above Doctor Sleep. So
I mean, yeah, I think I was a big proponent on Doctor Sleep last time.
yeah,
I like
I
Dr.
think
Sleep.
Yeah,
I think I was the lowest one on Doctor Sleep.
yeah.
I had Doctor Sleep pretty high because obviously. I think if Tyler can come up at all, I'm cool with anywhere between, top of Doctor Sleep and 31. So if you guys can
Okay.
decide somewhere in that range, if Tyler wants to come up at all, I'm fine moving in there. But it's up to you.
I think a good compromise would be above Soul, below Frozen 2, because I know Frozen 2 is another one for Ty.
Yeah.
So
That's a good one,
I won't push it on you, Ty, but I think above Soul, I think would be a good middle ground here.
All right,
at
I'll
30.
settle. I'll give you one more. I'll settle at 30.
All right. That okay. I'll
I'm
live
good with that.
I don't know if I'll sleep tonight, but I can.
No, yeah.
For the good of the
I'll take
entropy
negative
list.
11 cut.
I'll tell you what. I will sleep tonight because that movie's not scary.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't have.
That movie is about to become like my horror comfort movie.
Yeah. Oh,
is-
me.
is
I think
what
me
that
too.
movie is.
Honestly, I kind of.
100%, dude.
Like I said, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't go see it in theaters, and I kind of want to go maybe and see it in theaters.
I was just saying, maybe I'll go see it in theaters.
It's so funny. I'm happy you guys had such a positive reaction to it. I like that we're
I
so
loved it.
mixed.
Mhm.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I
we
had
need
such a
more
good time.
films like that.
Yeah.
It's polarized, and some people think it's terrible, some people think it's awesome, but that takes people taking a leap of faith.
Or
excuse me.
just more films by James Wan.
That's cool too.
Have him
Yeah.
direct all of the movies.
every movie from here
Every-
on out is
Yeah.
only directed by James Wan.
Yep. Sign me up, man.
30
All right.
it is, man.
Well, Malignant, yes, locked in at 30, below Frozen 2 and above Soul. My soul's hurting a little bit, but it is what it is. Listeners, our next review is Blue Bayou. That's not like that's BLU BAYOU, not like BLEW BYYOU.
Okay, Blue Bayou.
In case anyone was confused. Blue is in the color, Bayou is in New Orleans-ish
location.
area. Not blue is in,
This
I'm
joke is going on
blowing
far too
into-
long.
And not by you, like
not
I'm
Bayou
next to you.
like I'm next
Like
to you.
my car,
Exactly.
Blue Bayou.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Blue Bayou. That is one. I forgot who suggested that one. That might have been
I
Blake.
think me and Ty pushed that one.
Yeah, we saw it on previews for what
Those
was
movies
that?
Reminiscence?
Theaters.
No.
No.
Might have. What was before that?
What was the one that you and I ran into each other at?
That was
That was
Candyman.
Candyman. I
Maybe it
know
was
it wasn't
Candyman.
Candyman.
It was
All right,
before
it was
Candyman.
Candyman.
No, it was Candyman. It was Candyman.
Was that? Oh, you know what? It was probably the Green Knight.
Yes,
you're
that
right.
sounds very
You're
right.
right.
That sounds
Good
very
call.
right.
It's probably Green Knight.
Call.
But yeah, this looks like a little more toned down movie than Malignant. A little smaller scale.
Quite not
for
as
sure.
stylized.
Yeah, maybe not as stylized. Not directed by James Wan, sadly. Instead, Justin
Unfortunately.
Chon?
Mm.
Justin Chon? Who knows? But yeah, go check that out. I think that's only in theaters, so you might have to go to the theater to watch that. Excuse me, 1 second as I cough because I can't seem to shake this cold.
COVID.
Sorry, I'm like having I don't think it's COVID. I'm like having a hard time like not coughing. I'm like
You're trying to keep yourself off for the good of the listeners.
Yeah, I've muted myself about 2
I was
dozen
gonna
times.
say I've seen your little microphone go on mute a few times.
Yeah. It's just like that tickle in the back of my throat's constantly there as
Mhm.
I talk. So it's just like sometimes it catches up to me. Sometimes I can stifle it. But we'll get on out of here pretty soon. So yeah, see Blue Bayou in theaters if you want to this week. Nathaniel, do we have a 5-star review by chance?
No 5-star review. You can do it in app, folks. If you do so, I will read it out here on the podcast, and you'll get to hear my voice say things. It can be whatever you want it to be. It just cannot be mean or evil. Or it can be mean. Just don't be evil. And, you'll have the fun of, hearing us read out your review for us. But if you don't want to do that, you can always email us, which I believe we have an email this week, possibly, Adam?
We do. It's from one Brandon Wozni. He
A
says,
regular contributor.
The title of his email is "It's Been a While," which I feel like it's only been like a month, but okay. And he says, "Well, now of course I have to chime in when you ask about the symbiotes. I believe the way it works is the symbiote fights off foreign agents, so no Eddie Brock wouldn't need a COVID shot. It's the same reason he doesn't get sick and can't get cancer. He also can survive underwater. The new Venom movie is for sure going to start featuring more of his weaknesses, though. The ship I would choose to have would be the light jet from Tron if you're talking single person / small crew. White
That's a
Ace
cool one.
from Gundam if you're talking a large scale vessel." So Waz touching on quite a few topics from our last week's episode. I believe someone asked if Venom and or Eddie Brock can contract COVID. I guess the answer is no, according to Waz. And then we also talked about, maybe 2 weeks ago, what kind of fictional ship we would love to pilot from any franchise or anything. So Waz, of course, we asked him what his answer was, and he sent that in as well.
If you ask a question, you have to answer your own question. It's one of the rules.
That's a good general rule of thumb there. So thank you, Waz, for writing in on that one. If you would like to write in yourself and maybe add on to something we talked about, ask your own question for banter sake, please do so. You can email us at backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. That's our email there. Follow the show and share the podcast. Share with a friend, a family member, who's lurking in. I actually might cut that. I don't want to.
I was gonna say,
spoilers.
if you've got
Spoiler.
If you have please share.
I
There you
feel like
go.
the whole thing is just. let's get away from that.
I was visiting some
Share
very
as well.
dear friends of mine in Arizona this weekend, and you should all listen and share, folks. Or
Listen and share.
if you just want to, tell some people about a cool podcast, that's us.
Yeah, share.
And we'll BRB.
Well, I'm very hurt about your ranking on the podcast. You don't have room to end the podcast.
You do not have podcast ending capabilities right now.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
They have been revoked, at least for a week.
You're on my
Premature.
list right now, Ty. So yeah, and also follow the podcast. You can do so on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and then on YouTube. Subscribe to us there, even if it is not your primary place of listening. That is just Back Row Banter. Blake, where can the people find you at, my man?
Letterboxd. BlakeHolder. I logged Malignant in there the other day. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put some thoughts
Great
down
poster on
on
the
digital paper on there and put a review. So we'll see what's going on with that. But yeah, go ahead, find me there. Everything else you can locate me on is Mr. Watercoolers, PlayStation, Xbox, anything you want to play. New season of Siege just came out as well, Adam. If you ever want to take that game up again, I know it's been a few seasons. please contact me and we can play.
We'll talk.
For sure. Popcorn Adam.
You can find me on Twitter at Aish24 and on Letterboxd at Aish whenever I get around to logging some more stuff there. Probably sometime soon. I don't have a ton of downtime, but I also spend too much time on Twitter, and I'll probably just turn that into Letterboxd time. Maybe feel a little bit more productive that way. Nathaniel.
Yes.
Where can the people find you?
People can find me on. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Anyways, people can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at nsgingrich. I said it earlier, but Malignant has an excellent poster on Letterboxd, so go check that out if you're bored.
It does with the eye going to her eye.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's dope.
But then also you can follow me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Follow my other podcast, Sandpiper Tapes, on Instagram and Twitter. New season coming sometime soon. God, it's getting close, isn't it? But yeah, other than that, I'm going to kick it on over to Ty.
Hey guys, I do Twitch every now and then. I'm planning on potentially doing it tonight as soon as we are done here. So
if you're in the future,
bit of sizzle, huh?
So if you're in the future listening back, maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah. Check it out. Check out the pod.
Turn on the notifications.
There you go.
So that's twitch.tv/Eltrabajo, ELTRABAJO87. And my Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter are all Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES.
Take us home, man.
Is that it? Is that everyone?
That's everyone. That's the squadron.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, that's it for episode 70. 70. 7 sets of 10 in the books. It's always nice to have a little round number like that. Can't compare to episode 69 last week. But
that was a nice episode.
It was a very nice episode. Join us next week for Blue Bayou. Blue Bayou? Maybe it's the way I'm saying it that's confusing.
I don't understand why you're having so much trouble here, but I like it.
That movie title is beating your ass, bro.
It's a good storyline.
At this point, the listener can just check you if they're very confused. Anyway, join us next week for episode 71. Thank you guys for joining us this week. We'll be RB.
Thanks for stopping by, folks. Oh, no, that's Tyler's line, isn't it? Thanks for listening. We'll be excellent to each other, and we'll be RB.
Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us, whether it's just tuning in for a listen or whether it's passing on the word. That's the only way that we can grow. The only other thing for me is we obviously had 9/11 recently passed, and I have a lot of friends that are firemen, and I was also a fireman at one point. So prayers to all those families that lost a loved one, and prayers to all those people that are currently first responders and out there kind of risking their lives every day. They are actual heroes. So 9/11 is something very important to me, so I appreciate that. Give me a little time there. So just tell somebody you love them, because life's too short and you just never know when that can go. So we will BRB.
Yeah, good point, Ty. On kind of the 9/11 just passing. So obviously thoughts and prayers with all those families who have been affected due to that. Outside of that, kind of the same message as always. Stay positive. If you can do something you love at least once a day, then you're living right. So continue to do so, and we'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
But I see too many like huntsman spiders and like shit that she posts.
Oh, yeah.
Story. And I'm like, dude, like I could never live in somewhere like that.
It's one of those
have
things.
A gigantic fear of spiders.
I just feel like I'd be okay having grown up in Arizona. Like just
dude.
bugs around all the time and shit. Like
yeah.
I think I'd be okay with that stuff.
Yeah. I wanted to see a scorpion when I was in down there in AZ.
Oh, you wanted to?
Yeah, at least I mean it'd be cool, just like a travel thing to see.
We definitely could have found you some. You just gotta like go out to one of the just like open pieces of desert and just grab a black light.
Yeah.
then you go
Okay. Yeah.
search
Well, we
for
were ATVing like we.
Oh
stopped
yeah,
at a
you
few
definitely could have
places.
found one out there then.
Yeah,
too.
and we're like, there's definitely like a scorpion.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
somewhere under this rock or something. You
Dude,
know, but
yeah.
we didn't bother to do it. Heard a rattlesnake though.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of cool, but also terrifying because that's a
Creepy.
sign like you're a little
Right.
too close.
Yeah, did you see
You
it?
know? No, I didn't see it.
Was it
Heard
while you
that.
were riding?
Yeah, but we were like stopped and parked. You know,
Got
but you
it.
can kind of like hear it. I was like, oh. Are those bites deadly to like an adult?
A rattlesnake?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, I think pretty sure if you get bit by one and you don't get help, you're pretty much guaranteed to die.
Wow, really? How quick is that? In terms of like where you have to get to a hospital?
I don't
I'm sure it's
know
like a
if I
few
can
hours or
remember.
something.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely like you want to be there within like 2 hours at the
Right.
least.
But I'm sure it's even worse for children. It's probably like a death sentence.
Yeah, it's not good for kids. But at the same time, all fire departments carry anti-venom with them. So
Yeah.
like
Right. I was gonna say, is that the next question? I'm sure the antivenom's
Yeah.
got to be like pretty much everywhere. Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong.
Shout
Says
out the fire department, man.
it says if you're bitten by one, it can be dangerous, but it's very rarely fatal.
Hmm.
So I'm just dead wrong. I know nothing.
1 second you think you're Steve Irwin, next second you're an idiot.
It's true.
What killed Steve Irwin? What was that? A stingray?
Stingray.
Stingray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck those guys.